Using trend lines and channels. Hi, this is Charlie giving you Friday's or the weekend video from me. Probably go out tonight. So I'm recording this late afternoon, mid afternoon, late afternoon. What, 10 to 4? Was that late afternoon on a Friday? I don't know. And so we're going to have a look at the euro dollar here, and we're going to look at just trend lines and channels. Now, I always have these on my charts. You see them when I'm doing my general commentaries. If you see me on the euro dollar, then you'll see all these lines because some of these have been on here for months, if not some have been on for a couple of years, and so they are useful, really useful. And so, although I have other indicators like moving averages and a couple of indicators, price action is always first and foremost most important. Is what is the price doing against is it a near support, resistance, technical support, and such likes. So I just thought I'd do a quick session on trend lines, trend channels. So, and it doesn't matter what time frame you're looking at. So at the moment you can see a load of mess. So we're going to delve into some of the smaller time frames, maybe off of hourly and 4-hourly charts. But before we do that, look, there's some big trend lines going across at my charts here. So let's have a look at those. So we'll go to the weekly chart first of all, and we can see this sort of channel here that I've had on for some time. We've got this lower line here. It's not exact, which it should be, but it's not by looks of things. I should have duplicated that actually. And why don't I don't know why I didn't do that. If I actually see, I'm doing this live with you, so I'll just duplicate and drag it down. That's better. That's prettier, isn't it? Just it's more in line with the previous one there. So probably, yeah, I've drawn it because I've drawn it from there, but in fact it's about there. Now, one thing with trend lines, it's like with anything with trading, it's not an exact science always. Sometimes it's perfect and you can measure up the lows or whatever, but sometimes you might have to cut through a low when you're joining lines together. But as long as you've got the general gist of it and you're trying to match up some lows, then there you go. So look at this channel that we've had on the weekly chart for quite some time here. Really, 18 months plus, I guess. And we came back down to it just 2 weeks ago, and then shot back off of it a week or so ago, which made me think, oh, we're going to possibly head back up towards this upper trend channel line. Just goes to show you that I was wrong there because the euros sold off there this week, and I'm recording this live, so the market's moving as I'm going through this. So, but these sorts of channels are useful. So how will I use them? Well, if you're in a downwards trend, then typically when we come up to hit an upper trend line, then I would want to at least consider shorting. Now, funny enough, this back here, this was back in 2018. This was a short that myself and our swing traders were taking at the time. And so what was this trend line? Now, where's this going back to? Well, if I now go to the monthly chart, you'll now see the perspective there. That's where I've just talked about on the weekly. Now, you can see this is expanded out on the monthly. It's going all the way back to the highs of 2008. And you can see it's a lovely trend line going across all of these highs here. So, and again, so we were selling back there. And likewise, when price was coming down to this long-term lower trend line, which takes us all the way back to 2001, or 2000, should I say, and beyond actually. But anyway, 2000's enough. I've been buying at times. Around here, I was buying in 2017, and we came back down to it last year. No, there was buying opportunities down there. They didn't really follow through, but I was buying down there as well. So that's what's so useful about trend lines and stuff. But of course, at times they will break, and usually, if I've got a trend line which is quite steep, oops, no, that's a box, Charlie. Wrong one. Let's see if I can get rid of that. No, that's maybe I have to click on that, then click on this again. It's amazing, isn't it, watching a technophobe put a video together. So if we've got a steep trend line, and again this just comes with experience to know what a steep trend line is versus a less steep one. But if you've got a steep trend line or even a channel, then it's more likely that as price is going up through it, that at some point it's going to have a break. Whereas a less steep channel or trend line can be more supportive for a longer period because the price action has not been as steep all in one direction, so to speak. So that's how I tend to look at these things. So nice channels there, nice triangles there. Now let's take it in. You can see that I've had back in 2017, I've obviously had a trend line off of those lows. So let's go back and have a look at the weekly chart from back there. Yeah, there it was. So these were the lows back here in 2017. I'd obviously drawn a trend line back then, and I was certainly trading the euro dollar back there. And then when it comes back, and this is why I leave trend lines on quite often, because you want to see, oh, if price comes back to it, is it going to react to this old trend line? And as you can see, price does that. So again, it creates opportunities when price comes back into old areas of support, resistance, or trend lines. In fact, I probably don't need that line on anymore. But if I go back to the monthly just very quickly. Okay, so as far as where we're at the moment, we've broken this long-term. Oops, how did that happen? I just put that on there. Better click. There we go. So it's broken this long-term trend line. So the potential is for us to come down and revisit these lows, of course. But you always have to be a bit careful because the market likes to throw people off the scent. But certainly it's still hugging this lower trend line of this channel. Now, what would that suggest to me? That but at some point, now bear in mind this is a monthly chart, at some point I would expect, now you can see the euro did hit the upper trend line again up over here, but at some point in the future, now I can't tell you if that's going to be in 3 months time or 2 years time, it's likely that the euro, even if it slides its way down this trend line and makes new lows, beats the 2016 and 17 lows, that it will come back up for this trend line at some point in the future. Now that could be, like I said, it could be a year into the future, but keep the lines on your charts because they are useful. Let's now go back to the daily chart and then delve down below that. So you can see some of my lines that I've had on the euro recently. So let's actually take that to a 4-hour chart, make it a lot easier to see. There you go. So this was a trend channel I had on the euro fairly recently. It takes us up to sort of late March, and it doesn't matter that price, as you can see down here, came outside of the channel because they will do that sort of thing. So you draw the line on once we've had a couple of highs, and then I'll copy that across and then see if there's a low. So there was a low obviously here, and then it came in with this low here. Again, don't worry about the fact that that's spiked through. It's not perfect. That's absolutely fine. You've got the low here, and we can see we had a bit of a bounce, but not a lot. And then we came down. Now, just because it broke out of the lower trend line here, don't then take it off and think that that's it, it's over. Because usually it's like a throw-over move, just like we had here, only for it to then come back up within that channel. So again, don't take them off, and so leave them on. Now during this period here I had a channel on as well, so let's see if I can put my trend line on here. So I had a channel, would have looked something like this. Now I'm going to copy that across, duplicate, drag it up. So oh yeah, so I had it from what I remember about there. So again, it's almost the opposite to what I had in this channel down here, that the euro started coming up. So I put these lines on, and then I was talking to the guy. Well, it was a day trade because this was actually off of it's on a 4-hour chart at the moment, but where we actually executed it was a day trade. That when we were coming up here, we made these new highs. We did these sort of throw over move again, and then if you get reversal signs coming in, then you can execute a short trade, because it's unlikely, it can happen, but if you've already got a channel which is fairly steep, it's unlikely that it can happen that it's going to then completely break away. It does, and it can happen, but that's less often that it'll do that out of a channel which is already fairly steep. So it will happen, but we're playing the probabilities, and that what's more likely usually going to happen is it will come back down, break the channel to the downside, and then disrupt the channel down here. Then the channel's gone because there's been a load of price action down here, and then it can come up, That's the sort of thing that can happen. So again, normally looking at the downside, are there any buying opportunities? When we come up to the upper side of a rising trend channel, I'm then looking at, okay, are there any selling opportunities? And so I'll use that with our intraday analysis to say, okay, there's sort of whatever it might be, the reversal signs. I'm not going to go into the details of what I use with that. And then if I then put this to an hourly chart, there's a channel right now. So let's put this on. So la 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 da 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 ra ta 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 da doopy doopy doo. So there we go. Duplicate this, and we've got this nice channel down here. Oh wow, look at this. This is nice, isn't it? So again, I'm not too fussed. If I put it right at that low there, which I can do, which measures up with the low of that doji bar there, that's fine, but it's not measuring up with anything else. So I personally prefer it if it's going to slice, if I have to slice through that, we can see that we've got a bit of a turn going on here, so I'm more likely going to move it to have this. And then we've got a few more tests here. So, but initially I would probably have it there. But if the price action is such that I say, oh, okay, actually it warrants having the channel, oh, maybe there actually, oh, that's better. Yeah, right there. There you go. Because that would have been with this low here, and we've bounced off this low. So that's my channel there. I took these off before I pressed record today because I didn't want to show you everything in advance. So here we go. We've got this wonderful channel in place here. This is only an hourly chart of the euro. But although, despite the daily chart, let's go back to the daily. Despite the daily being pretty, ugly at the moment, I would certainly look at that hourly and say, okay, maybe there could be another little bounce within the channel. It doesn't have to break to the upper side, unless you've got other factors coming in on the daily charts to say, actually, this could bounce a bit more. But certainly, I would be looking at this saying, well, okay, we're down in the. If I've got some reversal signals, then I would be then looking at buy opportunities off a lower trend channel line. So that's what I would do. So just giving you a heads up there, actually. And so could the euro want to come up here? Yeah, it could do. Like I said, it's a pretty ugly chart there on the dailies, pretty negative, but it doesn't mean to say that we can't get bounces within the context of this downwards move. So this is only an hourly chart. So for the nimble sort of day traders, they might be looking at this saying, okay, there could be some pips on the upside. Not necessarily looking for it to be a complete turnaround and go up hundreds of pips, but certainly there could be, because we've got this channel here. As I've said earlier on, usually a channel will want to eventually break to the upside before then getting disrupted and then coming back over again. So sometimes it will just break down and break through the lower trend channel line, of course. But certainly if I had reversal signals, then that's the sort of thing I would look at. So there you go. There's a bit of a session there on trend lines and trend channels. And although I have other stuff on my charts, I'm always putting lines on, trend lines and the likes, because I find them really useful. And I think a lot of you, I'm sure, do as well. So it's a slightly longer video as I've just gone through all of that today. But really useful stuff. And of course I use horizontal support and resistance levels as well. So I'll draw on, here we go, like there, this back to this monthly chart. You see we've got this line here. I've still got this line on my chart. Where's that? Back around about 122 or so from way back. And you can see I haven't put it on exact because there is no exact science as such. I've sliced it through all of these lows. I could adjust it maybe slightly so it catches that low there. So if I drag that up, is it going to drag? There we go. That's probably a bit better if I have it there. There we go. So, but I keep these lines on my charts because who knows what's going to happen in the future? What happens if in a year's time the euro dollar is right up here in the 120s? Well, all of a sudden that line comes into contention again. Much like you can see, I've got another horizontal line back down here. There was a lot of price actions you can see in 2015, 16. lots of movement around there. Now, we've subsequently broken out, we came back to it, and we bounced for a month. This is a monthly chart, and then we've come below it. You can see then we've then chugged around there for a bit, and then we've come off. Then we spiked back up into it just a couple of weeks ago, and then come off again. So this is again another significant line. That's just below. It's in the 114s. Just below 115. So again, if the euro did decide to come up again in the future, it's, whenever, then that line's going to be important to me as well. So there you go, a whole discussion there on trend lines and horizontal support and resistance as well. There you go. Enjoy your weekend. I shall be writing. If you're not on our email list, do go to our website and sign up to our emails, because you will be missing out. If you're just watching our videos like on YouTube, then I write a weekly written email now. I usually write it on a Sunday, and it will go out either Sunday or Monday, about any topic that comes into my mind. So yeah, I'll be back in touch at some point in the next few days with my written email. Take care for now.